Here.
Ms. McGee?
Here.
Mr. Richardson?
Present.
Ms. Wesley?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Excused absence for Commissioner McKenzie. Her husband was rushed to the hospital today, this evening, so. Okay, we ready? Okay, all righty. We do have a quorum. Next, we have a special presentation by Attorney Thomas Donnellan. And would you please come forward, sir?
Thank you. I very much enjoyed listening to the presentations of the attorneys last week who were applying for the job of legal counsel to the commission. I was particularly interested in the cities that they talked about because I was familiar with all of them, having worked there. Pontiac, Ypsilanti, Highland Park. It was interesting. Highland Park was very interesting. It was back in the 90s. It was fallen on bad times, but each city councilman still had publicly paid aid. They had no money for anything, for lights or anything else, but they had enough money to pay for an aid for each city councilman. They had about 9 councilmen. One of the things that was most interesting about it is that I was there most of the time that the commission operated, and I never saw any city officials show up for presentations or for talking to them or anything. And none of these aides ever came around. And I figured out it was probably because they had all agreed that they could just ignore the Charter Commission until the time for the election and then just campaign against it, and they carried the day, and that's exactly what happened. I was telling Mr. Banks and Tarek Badoun, who works with them, and they started thinking maybe that they have the same situations over again. Now, there is a certain thing as getting a feel for a city, and let me tell you a story of Ferndale. This is about the same time as I was down in Highland Park, but Ferndale had been on bad times in the 70s and 80s. But when I went down there in the 90s, it was jumping. It was jumping. It had restaurants, and it had bars, and it had art galleries and bookstores, and just about everything going on. Well, the commission was very dedicated, and they made some decisions, which were probably not very popular, because it had a peculiar position for the chief of police. Chief of police was just about autonomous. Nobody could give any orders to the chief of police. So, and they worked against that in the proposed charter. recommended by the Model City Charter, so I made a mistake of recommending that. So they went back though, and they put it on the ballot again with those two changes. They kept the mayor still not voting except in usual circumstances, and kept the city clerk as an elected official. The charter went sailing through. It was not a problem. Other cities have had more serious problems. For example, the city of Wyandotte, they had put the charter back on the ballot. Second time, they had taken out everything that was of interest in the charter, and it went down by exactly the same margin. So something had ticked off the electorate there. I don't know what it was. I just don't have the familiarity, that much familiarity with the city. So the situation that we have here is that you can have the brightest, most learned attorney available, but there's no substitute for knowing the territory. In the words of the Music Man, you got to know the territory. So, or at least it's much better if you do. Now, I have many friends here, but
Attorney,
yes.
speak a little
Oh, I'm
more
sorry.
into the
Yeah.
mic so we can hear you.
Okay, I have many friends here, but I don't count on that at all, because I would encourage you to find the counsel that best suits your feelings and your what you think that you want, because that's what I want for you. I want to have you have the best counsel that you think you need. And you certainly won't lose a friend of me if you don't choose me. I'm still supporting the charter 100%. So you'll still be my friends, no matter which way you choose. So that's about all I had to present to you. Thank you.
Questions?
Mr. Donlin,
Yes.
what all cities have you assisted with charter work?
About 12 of them. There was Flint and Lansing and Sterling Heights and Wyandotte, Brown City, let's see, Ferndale, Allen Park, Brown City, Highland Park, of course.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
how many cities have you dealt with in the last 10 years?
Oh, 10 years. I've probably none in the last 10 years.
None in the last 10?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Donlin. I had asked everyone to write out some questions for Attorney Ryan, and if you could get those to me, I will email them to Mr. Ryan, and then email the answers back to you if he so desires. Okay? Thank you. Does anyone have theirs tonight? Okay, thank you. All
I
right.
can just ask one right now. And that one, how many, the same question, basically I asked him, when is the last time have they worked on a city charter? I would say that's important to kind of know.
Okay. Okay, we do not have the
Revision Commission for whatever it's worth, but I'm glad to see Mayor Weaver successful. I supported her, and I make no bones about it. Under this state government governance form. Now the attention is back to the Charter Revision Commission because I'm an advocate of some people might like hybrids, some like manager forms of government, but I'm an advocate of a strong mayor form with a professional city administrator. The city administrator we have now seems to be a decent city administrator, but I'm not concerned with the city administrator having power over the council and or the mayor. And so believe me, in the past, it's always been the people, not so much the structure. And, you know, I'm an advocate of strengthening the council. You know, I've talked bad about part-time council people who don't do their job, ain't no attendance requirement, want to meet an hour and a half and run the city by meeting 2, 3, 4 times a month in an hour and a half, just from the work you're doing on the Charter Revision Commission, committee work, meeting as a whole. You can't hardly run the Charter Revision Commission by just meeting quick in an hour and a half, particularly if people ain't talking among each other on the off, you know, time. So I'm gonna advocate of some changes maybe as it relates to council and the way that they operate, and I'll reveal them as you move forward. I'll keep listening to see what you do. But as far as the mayor and the management department heads and city administrator, I'll listen close to what you say. The charter is a living document, and it has lived long enough for me to know over a 20, 30-year period that the shortfall, in my opinion, has a lot to do with making that city council work and do its check and balance on the administration. And Mr. Richardson, I'll try to prove that to you as we move forward. Thank you at this time. All right.
Thank you, Councilman Mays. Okay, at this time, we have committee reports, and we'll start with finance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you know, we did not receive funding from the Mott Foundation, so we reworked the budget that we knew that we had allocated to us of $48,800, and I think I passed out each member a copy of that. Did I pass you one? A copy of that. As best I could, I've slotted in some monies, but I have an update to share with everyone. We've paid out some expenses already from those funds, and they were for Regina Laurie for the U of M forum we held back in September. She received payment. The Michigan Municipal League received payment. Paul Herring, our videographer and video recording, he received his payment. That reduced the professional services portion of our budget to a total of a balance of $44,474.37. And then we had some supplies that totaled $330.95 to reimburse members for supplies they had bought for that event. So the overall balance is no longer $48,800. It comes to an overall balance of $45,243.42. With that said, the sheet I passed out today, the two items at the bottom, line item number 17, we no longer are including the, how do I say it, the outreach project coordinator. That has been, and so the project coordinator along with
Administrative assistant.
administrative assistant, thank you, are no longer included. So line item number 17 is omitted, and those funds will be redistributed. Now we can talk about where to tonight, and I'd like to do that. Along with commission member payment. I only tallied or indicated there the 15 minutes that, meetings that we have scheduled to the end of the fiscal year. Those dollars I knew I could work with, but we've had meetings since July, the beginning of this fiscal year. Some of us haven't attended all of them, so I couldn't get a figure on those. I would have to get an attendance figure. So we'll need to add some more monies to that line item number 18. I think I sent that to everyone in the email also. So I'd like to, the $4,909 there, I'd like to redistribute that tonight where we see fit. Certainly, we're only working with the $45,243 here also. Keep that in mind.
I would like to suggest that the 4909 be redirected to the, to number 1, the legal consultant.
Okay, did everyone hear that? You'd like to redirect the $4,909 to legal consultation and guidance?
Madam Chair, I think that makes sense because 2 of the 3 attorney groups that we've interviewed, the price has been about $30,000. And that'll bring it pretty close to that $30,000 amount in their estimates.
So I concur. I would agree with both those.
Okay.
The
One of the, we know that we won't have the paid positions for outreach coordinator and for the administrative assistant. And so I've been in touch with the University of Michigan Flint and also with United Way. When I was on the board of directors for Resource Genesee, we dissolved, but all of the programs went to other agencies. And so the volunteer program went to United Way, and I talked to Jenny Dones today, and they are redesigning the program. So they don't have anything presently, and the young lady's name is Rachel Winslick, who will be over the program. But I will be talking to her tomorrow because she may have some volunteers on hand, especially for the clerical position. That's the area we need right away. So I'll be talking to her. Also, at the University of Michigan, I talked to Mrs. Shabazz, who's worked for the university for about 30 years. And so she put me in touch with Mary Black and with Mona Monroe Eunice. And the university have a number of programs, community partners. They have a program for engagement for the students, civic engagement courses, and also not just for the students, but also for the faculty and staff. And so there's a number of programs. I can pass this around if anyone wants to look at it. And they also have a form to fill out for the community engagement. And on one of the pieces, it states that they are looking for some programs, especially starting in January basically through April, for those programs. So I would suggest that we look in those areas, especially for the outreach coordinator position, for a graduate student or someone who can help us in that direction. Yes.
Madam Chair, I did fill out the online form, I think that one that you were just holding up, and submitted that about a week ago, and Mona got back with me, and we have a meeting scheduled, and I wanted to, just looking for my phone to tell you about it. I think it's next Tuesday, to talk about supportive services from the university for the public outreach portion.
Okay, great. So I think that's the direction we'll need to take. We need to get the volunteer help. And I also wanted to ask Commissioner Cherry regarding our Ford students. Is there other areas they can work in that they're not, where they're not working right now?
Yeah, so had a discussion with Professor Gerber yesterday. So they'll be coming to present their research to us at our December 10th meeting. And we're trying to figure out if she could come to the December 17th meeting to talk with us about what our additional research needs might be. But yes, I think there is interest in providing more assistance on their end if we're interested on our end.
Okay, great.
Madam Chair, I'm back to, what was that? Okay. That payroll tax, number 17, I think we need to move at least $1,000 of that up to number 6. And we only it only says 5 meetings, and those are gonna be outreach meetings. Am I correct? I just think we need to get a little bit more money and make sure we can be able to get out in that community.
So,
So that, I'm just saying $1,000 more right now from the 49.
Well,
Go ahead.
you've got community outreach as a section. Number 7, 8, 9 are the line items that address some of the marketing and communication you'll do for those 5 meetings, food and rental costs for facilities. So you've got $5,500 right there with those 3 items that are going to community outreach meetings.
That's going to community 3.
Right,
yeah.
right. So those in conjunction with line item number 6 are funding community outreach efforts.
I know a number of commissioners had indicated that they would be willing to forego the $30 per meeting payment. That might be another place for us to pull additional money out. We might make sense for us to, I don't know, do an individual ask on all
I
the
don't believe
commissioners.
that's the total for every commissioner, is it? That 30?
For
amount
the
of
next
40
15 meetings, it's all 9 commissioners.
No, okay.
Because I have yet to find out how one does that. I would say that there's a form that says you need to sign something, that if you're not going to take a salary, so you don't come back later and ask for it.
So I mean, I submitted the paperwork when it was requested, but I'd be, they haven't sent us anything, and so I'd be willing to forego.
I asked about that, and her response was she can't do anything till everybody signs up. And for some reason, everybody has to sign up. After you sign up, you can do whatever you want with that payroll, but everybody has to sign up. And we're lacking maybe 3 or 4 people.
So you sign up and you receive the money and you,
Give it back to the commission or whoever, whatever.
last I checked, this is not a 501(c)(3). So
I'm just telling you what she said. Now, I can't defend
Okay, but
her.
we really need to check on whether every commissioner must sign up before any receive anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll need to check on those.
Okay.
I have a suggestion as well. Website hosting and management. I mean, we're still using the city's website, and because of the, inability to get additional funds, I think we stay with that. Maybe that 491 could be moved to materials, food, and supplies for community outreach, because I don't think 2,000 is going to be enough, basically, for the food. I think that we can probably get support from a lot of the local churches to host our meetings, and we may not actually need to even have a line item for rental costs for facility forums.
I believe there was $300 for the website, wasn't there? There was a cost for the website. And
From
it
the
was-
city of Flint?
It was $300.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they're charging us $300?
The city of Flint's charging us $300 for our website?
That was what was on the budget, our last budget.
I think that was just put there in case we wanted to do our own. We don't have a whole website, we got a portion of a page, right?
Right, then we have a Google Docs for more detailed information about
Okay.
the charter, but that's free.
Right.
Okay.
Another thought,
So actually, on that topic, if we want to have our own website, I'd be willing to just go ahead and work with the developer that I work with to put together a website for the commission that, so, I don't have time to manage it, but somebody could post stuff on if we want to clear that line item.
I'd be willing to help with the website.
I think we would get our message out more timely if we did that.
So,
Heidi, would you check into that, please?
yeah,
And
is it okay to go ahead and do that, or?
Can we just vote real quick and say, just say aye?
We're going to vote on the whole budget as soon as we finish.
No, I'm just saying what he's suggesting.
Yeah,
I'd be willing to work on that too.
Okay.
okay.
I'm not a computer.
Well, I'm not either, I want to learn.
All right.
Okay. Any other items that people see?
So I guess on that one, we can zero that out.
Yes.
I can handle that cost.
Line item number 12?
Yeah.
Madam Chair, line item 16, copying. We could use the city clerk's office copier. So I'd spoken with the clerk's staff, and they said that would be a available resource to us. So that could help us with the $500 in that line item as well.
Okay, all right. Commissioner
But I'd like to
Wesley, are you
keep,
getting those numbers?
I'd like to keep it in outreach and move it to materials, food, and supplies.
I didn't hear what you were moving. I know you wanted to move 491 to food and supplies.
And number 16, copying,
To food and supplies also?
yeah,
All of the 500?
all 500, and so we'll use the city's copier.
Commissioner Heidi, did I hear you say that we were going to spend $2,000 on the outreach meeting?
That was our intent from the first meeting, our first budget. We haven't talked about the budget for the next community outreach meeting, but I think that food is going to be our number one expense besides facilitation. We may be able to get the space for free, but we're going to have to
Right,
feed
and we need to
people.
also, I know there's a line item for facilitation, but that's another area we need to look at for volunteers.
Now, at our first meeting at U of M room, I think I heard somebody say that the food cost $750, but it was taken over by U of M. And we're going to spend $2,000 on this one for?
No, one.
For the entire.
This is for the whole year. That's why that's why I brought this up in the beginning, because that seems kind of low for 5 meetings, and I think we need more than even 5 meetings to reach out to the community.
Right.
This budget takes us through the end of the fiscal year for 16, which is June 30th for the city. We're certainly going to campaign council to seek funding for our fiscal year 17, because we understand these dollars were allocated by the emergency manager, and we certainly needed more, but we'll be soliciting from the council for future fiscal year 17. So this takes us through June 30th.
Okay.
So then that leaves approximately $3,909 for the, to go back to legal. Is that correct?
If you're using 1,000 in the facilitator, right, okay, so 3,900.
And that's an area we still will be seeking volunteers for. We may be able to move this again.
Yeah, we may be able to move some of 18 up to the legal.
Right. Right, as well as 18, okay. Do you have anything else for the finance?
That's it.
Okay, shall we vote on the budget?
As amended?
I just have a comment right quick, just on that legal, we got 20 hours, but I noticed no one asked for any in-kind. If we pay you 20, can we get 5 or anything like that with the attorneys?
No.
No.
You asking, why didn't we put that in here?
No,
In the
well, I'm
budget?
just suggesting maybe we need to bring that to their attention if they want to be a part of this. But only reason I'm saying this is because we can't afford it.
Okay.
That's why. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the budget? If not, would someone move?
I would rather we have a revised budget with all these changes in front of us to approve instead of just approving based on the discussion, just to make sure we have actually, you know, we know what we're voting on, basically.
Yeah, I'm not ready to vote either. I want to see what
The final,
the final layout is of.
okay.
All right.
and,
Commissioner, would you make sure you have a prepared budget for our next meeting?
I will do that.
Thank you.
When is the next meeting?
All in favor of the Finance Committee's report?
The third.
I need someone to move.
So move.
Second?
So, I don't think we need to approve reports, though.
See,
Well, we did them
this is fine.
at certain times. So
Okay.
Let's go ahead.
I'll second then.
Okay.
Committee, no?
Any question?
Yes. I have a question. When is that next meeting? Do you want the finance to have?
It's December 10th is the next meeting.
Okay.
I'm bringing it to the committee.
All right. All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
All right. I just want to make sure.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you. All right, our next committee report is public outreach.
We had a public outreach committee meeting this Monday. We had a great discussion and went over and really did a lot of discussion on the next community forum. We have a location in mind that we're trying to get approval on, so we don't have the location set yet. So all of it's still very, very tentative. We also discussed the next advisory committee meeting and are going to continue with discussion on Article 1. And still working on preparing the survey results, so I don't have those for you today. And just have a verbal report, so.
Thank you.
that's what I got.
Do you know, the press release did go out for the vacancy, right?
That'll be the next report.
Oh, okay.
I believe so, because it's on the city's website.
Okay.
And so I found it and linked it on our Facebook page today.
That's it?
That's it.
All right. Move for
I don't think we
acceptance?
need to, well,
Well, we just did, so we're going to just continue.
okay.
Would someone move, please?
Yeah.
I move.
Second? Second. All in favor? Or question,
Aye.
rather. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. On our Rules Committee, the chair is not here. She had to rush her husband to the hospital. But she did want me to let you know that, and I'm sure that you all have seen the notice for replacement for Commissioner Brian Larkin. And one of the things we need to do, aside from it going out, we need to be,
Thanks.
we need to make sure that we are getting the word out about, because it's an open seat, and the public needs to know. And so we need to do everything possible to get the word out. We have 15 days from the notice date, and so we need to do a press release and to the other, that's the press release? Okay. So we need to make sure it's out. Thank you, I didn't see this.
Isn't that the city attorney? I mean, city
City clerk. She did,
Oh, she did put one out?
yes. But we need to make sure that the public is informed as well.
Okay, okay.
I just want to say I have extra copies of the posting or whatever, if you want to hand it out to people. I'm going to give them to
Yeah.
Ms. McKenzie.
Okay, thank you. And that was all we had for that report, and if someone would move for acceptance?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. General communications, we have none at this point. Written correspondence, do we have receipt of petitions? Introductions, readings of proposals? Do we have any readings of proposals for this? Okay. All right. Any unfinished business? New business?
Madam Chair, I am interested in looking at a calendar for 16.
I will have that ready, a proposed calendar at the next meeting.
Okay, okay. Is that going to be for all, almost like the one we had before?
Yes,
Okay.
unless you need some changes in it.
No, if the times are still basically the same, I just want to make sure we have them ahead of time, or we're doing it. So as long as if you got it, I believe you.
Okay. Someone would move for adjournment of the general meeting?
So move.
Second.
Okay, we are adjourned, and Commissioner Williams will chair the Committee of the Whole. And Commissioner Cherry has charge of the proposals.
Yep.
All right.
We can call this Committee of the Whole to order. Is there anyone in the audience for invocation? Okay, roll call, Madam Secretary.
Amplification. Madam Chair, when you first opened up the,
Ariel?
yeah,
That's for prayer.
excuse me, sir.
Are you going to,
I was offended invitation. She didn't get nobody a chance to open it up. She canceled. She closed it. And may I have it? May I open? Like last night, the man started out with Jesus wept.
Ariel,
I'm gonna finish it with Jesus wept.
Okay.
For the night.
Thank you. Roll call.
Here.
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 Here. Any public comments?
The comments on Mr. Mitchell, Earl Mitchell. about this 501c3 working without pension, or
Ariel?
it was only 2 people.
Ariel, we don't have anything to do with that, sir. That has nothing to do with the charter.
But sir, last night, a man offered to work without the paper, nobody said nothing. And it's only, and you said it's 2 persons, you can put that in commission, but only 2 people didn't show up before you can pass this money thing. And that's what I'm addressing to you about. And another thing, you addressed this lawyer about how many cities he went to. Within 10 years, he said none. And that's just like that prayer. If you want to know why, or if you ask me why Jesus wept, you sitting in his seat at the Madam Chair sit down, you missed the chair. Or let's say you want to be a Madam Chair, and Jesus wept because he has to go along because his daddy told him that, hey, I'm a,
All right. Councilman Mays, as I was listening to the discussion in the previous meeting, I heard some things about researchers and, people giving input from colleges. And then I heard what Attorney Donlin said, and, this is my conclusion. Whatever this charter revision commission recommends, it's going to go out into the political community for a vote. And, the work that you do is going to be voted up and down politically. And so I'm hoping that this committee has its finger on the pulse of the community. I think Mr. Donlin was right. I don't know what a University Charter Research Committee will say to you. I know the Blue Ribbon Committee that convened and what they said. And I listened to it. I attend those meetings, and it's going to be some pushback on what that academic or Blue Ribbon Commission said politically. The outreach to the community, the input, what you come up with, it's all good. Academia and outsiders, hey, it's all good. We all stand to be educated, and we put our best foot forward. I'm just watching and looking and just talking along the way. But I can assure you, I believe that everybody involved want to come up with a updated or revised document of some extent that makes the city work right for the benefit of the people. There's no doubt in my mind everybody is putting their best foot forward for that. And I know y'all gave an opportunity once, I missed it. And like I say, I'll get back into the swing of it, but I'm a little nervous about talking long. So I try to talk quick, concise, and to the point. But it's gonna have to be some written communications that I'm gonna have to give to you, and that keeps you from talking a lot. Or I'm gonna have to have an opportunity to come to you as a body or individuals, because I'm convinced that charter that we have ain't that bad. It just needs some tweaking and some enforcement. It's some enforcement areas that's lacking, and I'm twisting and turning now trying to figure out how you enforce it. I got some ideas, so I just listened to what was said. Mr. Donlin made some points about getting it passed once you make recommendations, and then I listened to Mr. Cherry as he was talking about certain people giving input. Finally, I'll say this, Mr. Chairman. The volunteer and secretarial staff and all that you need, I heard what Madam Chair said as it relates to the university, I hope is forthcoming. And I also heard what I think the finance chair said as it relates to finances on y'all doing your job. Even in this fiscal year, I would urge you, if you see yourself running short, we'll be looking and listening, let us know. And RL was right. We opened up prayer last night with a certain short scripture, Jesus wept. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I wanted to see if Mr. Mays would respond to a question.
Okay.
Well, we're working on the first chapter of the charter, and I know that you've looked through the charter pretty strong. I was wondering if you have any specific thoughts about the first chapter or sections within it that maybe you'd like to bring to our attention that is of interest or concern to you in any way?
Yeah, you correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Richardson and members of the charter, but I call that kind of the enforcement section. If we're talking about the same first section, at the end of it or somewhere in the middle, it says that there's 3 reasons that you can hold like a public hearing to forfeit elected and appointed people from office.
For forfeiture.
Right.
Yeah.
And if that's not conforming, it can be enforced in the circuit court. And that applies to the previous subsections as it relates to certain ethical practice, conflict of interest practices, and that's the section that when that first charter was adopted, it told previous councils after that to give some supplementary type ordinances to make that a section with some teeth. Council has neglected to do that. So my question is, should this Charter Revision Commission put more teeth?
What kind of teeth would you like, what do you think you'd like to see in it as a council person?
Well, I think that to make the council more effective, you have to make sure that if they're going to be some of the primary enforcers of the charter, look back in the personnel section when it talks about the personnel director should have been bringing, and it hadn't really happened from what I've seen in the application, the personnel director should have been bringing people for appointed positions who had proper certification. That wasn't happening, and wasn't nobody enforcing that part of the charter, so you got some, I'm gonna just call them some political appointees more so than some professionals.
Yeah, right.
And so you gotta put something in there that if the council is derelict in their enforcement of the charter, it's got to be some penalties, but the problem with that is it takes 5 or 6 council people to enforce that charter. And if you can't get people to move, then you got to put a mechanic in the charter that can knock that majority down. So you might have 3 or 4 of them that want to move on enforcement as talked about in that first chapter, but we got to figure out something mechanical that makes them knock down by not moving. You follow me?
I think I understand. I'd want to explore that a little bit.
I do too.
Yeah, I think that one through a bit.
So that's where I think the whole enforcement aspect of the charter in that first chapter, we can't wait for them to put their own teeth by ordinance maybe. We might have to put some charter revision teeth to make them effectively enforce those provisions of the charter.
So, Mr. Mays, as you kind of think about that a little bit more, because we're still working on it, I'd really be appreciative of your thoughts about it from the perspective of a council person.
I would be glad to beat up on myself a little bit, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Mind if I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So, you had earlier in your previous comments talked about a form of government, which is also one of the sections in this first article. One of the things that we learned when we were trained by Michigan Municipal League is that technically speaking, we are a hybrid form of government because the council approves the appointments made by the mayor and what have you. Do you think we should move to a stronger mayor form of government, or that a council should have more oversight over the over the mayoralship?
Let's say that, Mr. Richardson, you name the form of government or convince me in an academic sense that we are in a hybrid form of government. I wouldn't care if it's called a hybrid form, if that's what it is. But all I'm saying is, even if you went to a manager form of government and you had that council and the mayor, in order to enforce all aspects, you gotta strengthen that enforcement section in order to make this work. I just stick with the strong mayor form of government with the city administrator and the accurate professionals, because for over 30 years, since I was 23, I'm 57, I've just been watching this. And I've seen mayors and councils and people make appointments, and so I talk like this because I never have seen the charter enforced with the quality of the people in the positions. And so until you show me that with the quality of people in the positions and the right qualifications as it relates to this charter, you know, I'm convinced that it's a good structure, but it's got to have a little teeth, and that's what I'm willing to try to rack my brain and make happen. But I'm still open to listen, you see, as it relates to hybrid strong, but I'm just telling you, hybrid, like right now, if Natasha Henderson is the hybrid, I'm not looking at that, because that puts somebody over the elected council and mayor by emergency manager order. She's a quality person, but it's got to fit in with elected officials. And so I'm always for the people and elected officials at the top and professional staff up under there.
Okay, Eric, I have one other thing I want you, finance person said, and is it June 16th? I mean, the fiscal year ends when? July.
June
30th.
June 30th of each
Okay.
year, and it starts afresh July 1st.
Don't forget us. That's basically what I'm saying. Get your counterparts to kind of give us some money. If we don't have any, then don't forget us.
All I have to do is say, don't give them none, and they'll give you
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I just really rise just for a point of clarity. I don't know whether
You have to give your name, please.
Gilchrist. And again, I come before this body for a point of clarity. I was thinking that you guys were picking the vacancy tonight, and so I'm really asking. I'm reading the rules, and is there? And this is somewhat how the council does it as well. So are these rules here that you are asking for? Is this just normal protocol that you would do, or?
These here are the rules that our rules committee made.
I see. And so what you would do is whoever fits the criteria of of these rules, then you guys would then interview them, or how? Or
Yes.
I see. Okay. I see, okay.
That's my understanding is, am I right, Councilman Cherry?
Yeah, so the Home Rule City Act says when there's a vacancy, the only guidance it lays out on filling it, it says that the Charter Commission will fill a vacancy in its ranks. And so the rules just specified that if we have a vacancy, then we'll take applications. We'll have, the Rules Committee will whittle it down to 5 people to come speak before the commission and then make a decision as the commission as a whole.
So the Rules Committee will make a recommendation to the entire body?
No recommendation, it'll just narrow it down to 5 people.
But the entire body will vote on the person that's
The
fills the seat?
5,
Correct.
yes.
Okay, I got you. Okay, thank you so much.
Any comments from the public? Okay.
In just, the applications are due December 3rd. Because you had said you wanted to be involved in that process. So, yeah.
Okay, we have, ready for our general orders. And, yeah. Commissioner
So-
Cherry, I know you had something.
Proposal number 12, the corresponding section is 1-603. The forfeiture of office, removal for cause, which was, I believe, was the section that Councilman Mays was referencing earlier about charter enforcement. So previously, we had asked the attorney for his opinion a little bit on this forfeiture piece, and he had, when I had emailed him, he had written me back specifying that as he reads this section, that for a violation of a charter provision, in order for it to be punishable by forfeiture, it would have to designate that within that charter provision.
So now you have to change that to make those words say that.
Well, that's how he says it reads right now.
Okay.
So in order for somebody to be removed for violating the charter, it has to be designated within that particular section that they violated. That is the, so, the couple of questions that come to mind when I look at this one is, one, so the question is about enforcement. There's going to have to be some sort of body that mediates or manages some type of process for enforcement.
Don't we have that now with this civil service?
Well, I think civil service mediates, disputes between the employees and in the city, but
And this would be for removal of council persons or mayor?
elected officer or
All
appointee
elected office.
and appointees.
And appoint, where you see this on this? Where you at?
That's in A under.
Okay, yeah.
I suppose, we could change it either way that, however makes sense. But my thought is that we might want to consider whether the proper place for that type of thing would be in the court system. If there's a way for, so I was just searching other instances in which people tried to enforce charter. In Houston, a concerned group sued for enforcement of a charter provision within Texas's court system. And it might make sense for us to think about, and I don't know if it's the right way,
Is that a body of community members or?
Yeah, it was a body of community members that.
But did they win? See, there would be kind of like, I would like to know if they won or lost. Because that kinda
I believe they did, but it might make sense for us to designate a process like that via which we say who has standing to sue for a violation of the charter, and then if a violation of the charter exists, what are the penalties associated with that?
Okay.
It could still be forfeiture like it is here, but it might be good to write it out a little bit.
Okay. Chairman
Chairman?
Richardson?
When we talk about that, I think we need to take a close look at the Standards of Conduct Board, because there's a section within the charter that talks about the establishment of a Standard of Conduct Board and its roles and responsibilities.
Do you have that page now,
It's
Jim?
later on in the charter, but in section 1, it is it's mentioned under ordinance required in the public interest, 602E, Standard of Conduct Board shall review at least annually any reports, resignations, statements, declarations, or any other documents required to be filed under ordinance adopted by the city under this section.
Yeah, but why would they meet once a year unless there's an issue?
And then under section, chapter 6.
6401?
401, there's a discussion about the Standards of Conduct Board that's there. And it kind of describes who needs to be on that Standards of Conduct Board. And that actually it's advisory only. And so that might be another area that we want to take a little harder look at in terms of trying to ensure that the charter is adhered to in some way.
So you're saying this group should meet, or the way they're saying it should meet, just to make sure the city is staying by the rules and regulations of the
So
charter.
just while I talk about this for a second, one concern that jumped out at me under the Standards of Conduct Board immediately was that 2 of the members of the 7 are appointed by city council.
Right. And the other 4 are appointed by the mayor.
And the other 4 are appointed by the mayor. So
That
you
ain't-
kind of think, is this one of the fox watching the chicken house? Or what's with this one?
The clerk has the information on the board we did have. They haven't met, in quite a while, but she does have the information on the board standards. So we're going to be talking to her about that so we can get some clearance.
Mike?
Microphone, please.
Yeah.
Sorry. I said the clerk has some information on the standards board because she was a part of that board. It has not met since the financial manager took over. So, but she does have information, so we'll get that from her.
But I think when we start talking about, this whole idea of enforcement, that that has to be factored into kind of the discussion is how we look at this.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
I have the same concern that you do, because
Yeah.
any sort of adjudication process, if it's handled by the people who are being appointed by potentially
Being
person-
watched by your
folks that are not-
appointee.
Exactly, as you say.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, I think we need to find a way that it's somewhat separated.
If you got
from
your
the
books,
city.
we just need to circle this, and then when we come to it, we know that that's an issue that we want to bring up and deal. I think we need to change some of those. I don't see no citizens in here. Maybe that's what we need to do, put a few citizens in this thing so they can watch their elected officials.
Mr. Chair? Oh.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, the next section, 604, 1-604, speaks of conflict of interest. So it's kind of muddled also, but inclusive in our discussion of the conduct board, we should shore this up, this conflict of interest. It states what should happen in the event of conflict of interest. Nobody can vote. So you need to shore that up too.
Okay.
Take a look at that.
Right.
So, Councilman Cherry, what do you want, Councilman? I'm gonna say that the rest of the night, so just be aware.
No, yeah, I'd like to, it'll be nice when we have an attorney hired so we can sit down and work with them on drafting proper language. But, yeah, I'm not going to make an amendment tonight. I would just,
You want to table it, or?
well, yeah, I mean, we don't have to vote on, I'm not going to propose an amendment to vote on. The hang-up that I have on it is if you, well, actually, maybe there's somebody in the audience who knows. Under normal procedure, if somebody sues the city for violation of like if there's an ordinance thing, does it go to district court as opposed to circuit court, or does it go to circuit court?
Go ahead.
If you look at that ending section of the charter after forfeiture, it tells you in the charter that it's enforceable in circuit court. It really is referring specifically to if you try to come as a citizen and request the procedural public hearing on forfeiture and they refuse to act on it, then at the top of that page, at the end of that section, if you look, it say they can then move to the circuit court for enforcement. So my thoughts is that if you shore up, I see y'all using that term, all of them conflict of interest and all of the sections right above the forfeiture, then when they don't live up to those violations, of course, you could shore up the details of they would be able to then go into circuit court for enforcement. Do you see it, Commissioner Cherry, where the circuit court is named?
No, I don't see it.
Do anybody see that?
I don't see it.
I'll show it to you.
Also, if you look at under section 642A, it states that the purpose of the Standard of Conduct Board is to render advisory opinions to elected officers, appointees, and employees with respect to the meaning and application of provisions of this charter and other laws establishing standards of conduct. Advisory opinions shall be published by the board in the manner least likely to reveal the identity of the person concerned. So it sounds like a very weak board to me.
Yeah, so, yeah, the third line on C, appropriate court, so it might make sense for us to clarify. 1603, proposal 12, but it's on C there. Any resident of the city may petition an appropriate court.
Circuit court.
So the appropriate court would be circuit court, or do they have to go through? Been circuit court, okay.
And so this is petitioning to the court to require a public hearing.
So the court would have to require a public hearing
Yeah,
if the council failed to act?
Right,
right.
Who goes and petitions the court?
that's the
Public-
citizens,
Citizens,
the
okay.
citizen group.
You know, another way to, I I'm just throwing this out there, I don't know if it's appropriate or legal. It might make sense for the court to decide whether there has been a violation of the charter, and then it be referred to city council to determine whether forfeiture should occur, or whatever penalty might.
Well, if city council doesn't do it, they're already in violation. So, somebody brought it to somebody's attention. So Joe Citizen comes up in front of the council and say, hey, guys, you're not pushing this forward. And we ignore them, and we continue ignoring them. Then as a group, they can go to the court, and then the court would tell the council, you have to listen. So that means you have to have that open meeting act, hearing. So it'd be out there in the public's ear.
Does anyone know if this has ever been utilized?
No. Not that I remember.
Yes, sir. It's been utilized. In 1971, we fought for this in high school. Strong mayor order, and that's what this guy talking about. This stuff right here.
You didn't get, not your turn yet. Sit back down.
Let me just clarify, if I could. There is a provision in law to have a...
Mr. Donovan, bring the mic down to you.
Okay, to have a court hearing to determine whether someone is entitled to the office that he appears to hold. So this is in general law.
Is it in the Home Rule City Act, or is it?
No, it's just, it's called a quo warranto. So this is a simpler process. And a court would be much more likely to say, hey, counsel, go ahead and do your duty.
Does quo warranto apply to appointed officials or only to elected officials?
It could apply to both, but because the question is, by what authority do you claim to be holding your powers? So it doesn't really matter whether it's elected or appointed.
So when you say it's in general law, does that mean that it's not in the compiled laws?
Well, it's in the compiled laws,
Okay.
yeah. It's on the rules of court and the
Do you know of anyone ever used that?
oh, yeah.
In Michigan?
Oh, yeah, many times. There's a whole bunch of cases on it.
Any cities in the last so many years? Because I haven't heard of that before.
Well, it's there. It's a situation where someone who for example, it happens in election cases. If you claim that somebody wasn't really elected, you might bring a quo warranto action.
All right, thank you. Any other question with Mr. Donovan? Commissioner Ray?
Yeah, I just used the quo warranto in the election where they say I was going to be the only one on the ballot. Quo warranto is like looking for a start of a case when it might not specifically be there. And so we just had a quo warranto proceeding when I filed with Judge Hayman to count those petitions. But what that language is saying in the charter, if you are a citizen and you see a for-cause reason, and for cause, just like when Darrell Buchanan got threw out of the ombudsman's office after the public hearing when the council found that it was allegations about, them women, and that's when we used that back then, and the council removed an appointee, Darrell Buchanan, from the ombudsman's office. If you shore up those conflict of interest and all of those rules that precedes the forfeiture procedure, and don't leave it to the council maybe to enact ordinances later like they did in the first charter. You know, they told them to shore them things up after they had voted to approve the charter in '74. You could leave it again for the council to do it. What's the penalty if they don't shore them up? Or you can maybe shore them up, but that's where you're gonna get your teeth at for the for-cause reasons. So if we seen things in the charter and the council wasn't enforcing, then we could say to the council, we demand or ask that you have a for-cause hearing to remove this elected official, yourself, or appointees. And if they didn't, then you would have language, depending on if you shored it up, about the appropriate court. And that's what I still call him Judge Donnellan is telling you. It would be easier to get the court to enforce that for-cause hearing and rule in your favor based upon the reasons you went before that court, showing them, hey, we see these violations, they're not holding the hearing. And the purpose of the hearing is to put on record the for-cause reasons so you can have cause to remove them.
Thank you, Councilman Larry.
So, Mr. Chair,
Jim?
I wondered if we perhaps could get some research about how other charters and councils deal with this issue, whole issue around forfeiture and enforcement, particularly around enforcement of following the charter. I'd be really curious as to how other cities handle this whole issue, and to see if there's some practices in there that might be helpful as we look at it.
Mr. Chair. Now, where were you think you wanted to send that to city attorney?
No, I was thinking more of the Ford School characters. You know, I don't know if that would be appropriate or not.
Yeah, I know they're going to be exploring charter enforcement options, but I don't know specifically if they've gone into forfeiture or not.
Because I'm interested in the broader issue about, and that's a broader issue about how to make sure that the people who we elect and the people that work for us at the city follow the rules that have been established by the citizens. And because I think there needs to be some way to create that accountability in some way. I'm not sure what the best way to do it is, and I sure would like to hear from those that have also struggled with this issue about how they settled on it. Thank you.
Can you send that information to there?
Yeah, I'll shoot an email over about the enforcement stuff.
So you're going to do the 1-603 as a whole? That's the enforcement of law.
Well, I think I was just going to ask them to look into what other cities do.
Okay.
To provide that information to us.
Okay, is there any other general order or proposal?
So are we going to talk about conflict of interest at some point? Because
It's the next proposal.
because it seems fairly weak.
It's proposal number 13.
What are your thoughts, Jim?
I guess what I'm concerned about is try to assure that a conflict of interest is declared. We see frequently, I don't know about here in Flint, but probably, where, money talks, and And frequently there are issues around money that folks are connected to elected officials or elected officials trying to somehow or other benefit. And I don't know how we get at making sure that those kinds of conflicts are declared early on in any kind of proceedings. It just struck me when I've read this that it doesn't seem to be very strong. I haven't given a lot of thought about alternatives, but I sure would like to hear about some alternatives.
Mr. Chair, I think Councilman Mays, actually, it speaks of conflict in the points of interest that are discussed in 1-602. And if we, consistent with our wording, if we can shore up number D, I think 5 gets at your financial interest there, conflict of financial interest. It's a lot of talk of conflict throughout this article here. And so if we can somehow get at shoring up that language, it'll get to shoring up what Commissioner Richardson just spoke of.
Okay.
Mr. Domlin. Is 1-602, section 1-602, ordinances required in the public interest. It says the purpose of the section is to provide a method for protecting the public interest in electoral and governmental affairs of the city. Does that mean that the whole purpose of this particular section was to get ordinances that were about ensuring good government, or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but largely what we found out is that really none of this is being enforced.
Well, it is. We did write the ordinances. The other ordinances are there, but then it's up to the city attorney to prosecute violations of the ordinance.
And so, we might want to think about reformulating this one to make it simpler.
Oh, yeah, because you can start with the ordinances and put them directly in the charter if you want it. So
I would think that would be, personally, I think that would be some of the teeth that we've been looking for.
Yeah.
Putting some of the ordinance into the
Yeah.
charter itself.
Yeah, at the time, the Charter Commission was busy putting the charter together, and these are very technical things to go through, and they didn't really have the inclination to investigate those, because it would be almost like writing a separate charter to take care of all these things. So they just put it in here to require that there be ordinances. And the ordinances, as opposed to the conflict of interest provisions in federal law and in state law, was never thrown out. It has never been held unconstitutional, which is not true of the federal laws or of the state laws. So.
Proposal 19 addresses this section. I don't think we have to create another proposal for it, but at the time it was submitted was to address the one-year section D, but I think we could address other parts of the article without creating another proposal.
Okay,
Mr. Chair?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Chair, can I ask Mr. Donilon another question? Because we're trying to get information, and you're here, and we appreciate that. Within a charter, in a general sense, is it better to make a statement to the effect that there should be a conflict of interest policy by the city, or ordinance by the city, and leave it, the work on the specifics of that kind of an issue up to the legislative body to figure out what, you know,
I
'cause-
think my preference would be to require, to have the standard right there in the charter, if you want to take the time to state what has to be done in each case. I would choose to have it spelled out in the charter, exactly how it works and the whys and wherefores of the rule, how the rule works. Now, this just says that the city council shall adopt by ordinance rules that covers all these points. So I think it would be better to state the rules right there in the charter.
The reason I ask is that circumstances and situations change, you know, through a decade or better.
Yeah.
And if it's too specific within a charter, it gets kind of cumbersome to kind of
that's
to
a
change it.
consideration.
Yet an ordinance or a legislative piece
Yeah,
can be worked on
sure.
and adjusted. And I'm wondering if in this area, there's an advantage or disadvantage to doing that around these.
It's
These
your
issues.
choice as a charter commission, how you want to deal with that. Okay.
Thank you. Now, we do have to remind ourselves while we go through all these proposals that we got a time limit. So we can't tweet every piece of this page, even though sometimes it seems like we want to. Just keep in mind that we do have a time limit on our proposals and things that we would like to do, or
You mean 3 years, or you mean?
I'm hoping not. I'm looking at 18 months.
You don't want me to hear that long, okay.
Okay. Is there any other proposal, Mr. Chair, Cherry?
No, I don't have any proposals I'm
Okay,
ready to talk about.
well, I can ask for an adjournment if there's any other council, commissioners. Okay, guess ask for a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I would like to, I don't have it in the form of a proposal, but at a few meetings ago, Davina discussed with us the technical parts of the charter that are no longer necessary, that we need to make some changes on terms as far as how the actual information is put out to the public. You know, it states in the charter, it would go, you know, throughout the city and then to the journal, and that's it. But now we have technology, and of course, it would go through other media means, and so we need to, in areas where that is, we need to make those changes.
Okay, we probably need someone, we need to just write that proposal up then, because it will end up being a
Yeah.
proposal. So we need to write that up and put it in.
Do you remember what,
It's Proposal 15, right? Wasn't it?
There was a number of places, I believe.
In rulemaking procedure?
Is that a rulemaking?
Yeah, it's also Article 1-801. And that's where it talks about, under item B, the daily newspaper of general
yep.
circulation. And
Thank
then
you.
under F, talks again about the newspaper in general circulation, that same section.
So you'd want to put in internet and other means of communication?
are there any minimum state requirements on this?
No.
No?
I think Davina had mentioned,
Minimum state
I wasn't present, but I did go back and review the tape, because we have that. when she gave her comment, that it was including that the full language would be available on the city's website and providing a brief synopsis of the published, of the change, the rule change.
Well, man, we might want to really,
We'll need to go through it.
yeah, because
I agree.
I know there are people who still get, the paper, but
The
man,
urinal.
in 10
Fewer and
years,
fewer every day.
I mean, I don't see any of that stuff online.
It's not a daily newspaper.
Yeah.
Right.
The only daily newspapers would be the Detroit Free Press.
Yep.
I agree that then there need to be some changes made in that. No
We'll
doubt.
search it out.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, this is again another one of those issues about how time changes, and there's so much detail that it requires an amendment to the charter in order to be able to fix it, because circumstances in our world have changed. And I'm wondering if there's a way to be able to handle that in a different way, something to the effect that there has to be public notice about certain items, but not, and leaving it up to legislative body to review and determine how that ought to happen on a periodic basis, so that that kind of a change can happen
Automatically.
easily without having to amend the charter. And, you know, to provide a requirement that there be public notice.
Something
But-
about current media outlets.
And don't even say that, but just to say there needs to be public notice and a process established by the legislative body to do that.
But once again, it's always about who's going to make them people make sure they do that. And that's going to be, I don't know. 50 years from now, technology is going to be at such a rate that there need to be a way to make sure that information still get out without we saying something about the charter.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm getting at.
Right,
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
I don't think we can reach 50 to 60 years into the future, but we can make sure within the next 20 years or 30 years or more that the charter stands. That's my heartfelt of it. I don't think I can foresee 50 years from now how technology would be. Because I was a kid that I didn't think nothing about a computer, and look what it's doing now.
So before we adjourn, I've only had one volunteer for the next article. Is there anybody else who'd be willing to put their names on those sections to introduce them?
I'll do that.
Okay.
If I can see you after the meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks.
Ready for an adjournment?
Move we adjourn.
Adjourn.
Support?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did you remember today's meeting? Okay.
FOV.
What if we, why can't we?
Flint, Michigan.
Why not?
Our voices.
Our voices.
WFOV.
What would happen if we...
WFOV.
How many times have I said...
I've got the solution.
Not everybody's bad.
Why can't we work together?
WFOV.
Our voice.
Our voices.
WFOB.
You know what the problem is? I heard a guy on the radio. There's other
Our
communities.
voices. I like to hear it.
WFOB.
I heard.
WFOV.
What? WFOB.
Our voices. 259 978 Flint's newest radio stations. Located right here in Flint, Michigan. The Good News Radio. If you're interested in getting involved, having your own show, or just supporting the station, give us a call at 259-9789. That's 259-9789. It's Our Voices. 259 right here in Flint, Michigan. The Good News Radio. If you're interested in getting involved, having your own show, or just supporting the station, give us a call at 259-9789.
If I got to go to college, oh my goodness. I like discovering new things. You get to see what works for you and what doesn't. That helps you evolve as a person. You get to make like a supernova of skill or talent or whatever it is. I've always wanted to go to college. I just feel like that's my destiny. My name is Queen, and I am your dividend.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
So you can't save money? That's easy as pie. Brown bag your lunch instead of going out. $6 save times 5 days a week times 10 years is $21,000. That's a lot of lettuce. Small changes today, big bucks tomorrow. Feedthepig.org.
Hey, white people! What's up?
We're kids from Ferguson, Missouri.
You know that little place where white police shot an unarmed black teen in the face? It was a national disgrace. So listen up. Because we're here to talk to you about race. Sometimes white people are like, but is racism still a thing? Spoiler alert. Yeah. That's because Beyonce is on your playlist and you voted for Obama.
Doesn't mean that our generation
has seen the end of racist drama. Racism is not one of those things. So go away. If you pretend it doesn't exist. Like Crocs or Justin Bieber. All this focus on race makes me uncomfortable.
uncomfortable.
Try being black. Fun fact.
When the NYPD stops white people,
They frisk only 8%.
when they stop blacks and Latinos, they frisk 85%.
Oh. Ooh, what's that smell? That would be racism. We just want to equal shot in life.
Not to be shot to death.
It's you people who are making this about race. I don't see color. Really?
Did you know that employers
Don't even need to see the color of our skin for the discrimination to begin. Resumes with black sounding names like Tanisha and Tyrone are 50% less likely to be called in for a job interview
didn't the exact same resume?
with white sounding names? But is this injustice? Surprising.
When 40% of whites
Actually say white people are more hardworking than black people? You people are just playing the race card. No one's playing cards. This is not a game. Complain about this race card BS. It's just an obvious way of trivializing and marginalizing people. So stop. Some of my best friends are black. You get a cookie! Here's a hot tip. You're not really being a friend. We try saying racism has reached its end. Racism is not over, but I'm over racism.
The continued discrimination against black people. Us white people, we have to erase it. And the first step is to own up and face it. In America, fighting for equal treatment is not a black thing. We all have to do our part.
Be the shit, get a shirt. $5 from each shirt goes directly to charities working in communities to fight racism. Band together against racism.
Racism is not over, but I'm over racism. Hands up. Don't shoot.
In 2015, the East Side Mission is celebrating 20 years of service to Flint's East Side. We started out with the church building on the corner of Franklin and Delaware, serving lunch in the basement 3 days a week. But they soon added lunch on Mondays, making it a 4-day ministry. A nearby church serves lunch Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Shortly after opening, the Burdines, who are the mission founders, realized the need to add a food pantry. In about 2001, the large home next to the parking lot became available. So the mission purchased this house and opened it as a clothing ministry. It is now called the Virginia Steimer Clothing Ministry. Ms. Steimer was a longtime missionary to Papua New Guinea, and after returning to the U.S. was a member of our mission board of directors. The clothing house is open Tuesday through Thursday from 9:30 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. In 2009, we purchased a building at 2722 North Franklin, across from the mission. This building is in the process of being remodeled for the youth program for New Life Church of the Nazarene, which meets in the Mission Church building. Tanya Cox, the Associate Minister at New Life Nazarene, is in charge of this project called Kids Matter. They're trying to raise $60,000 for the remodeling of this youth center. In all reality, it will become a multi-use building. In 2010, we were given the building at 2711 North Franklin, just north of our original mission building, and a parking lot just north of this building. This building at 2711 North Franklin opened in 2013 as our food pantry, taking the commodities distribution out of the basement of the original building. We distribute groceries to people from the community from this building, where our clients do not have to go up and down stairs to receive our help. A ground floor entry makes for a safer environment for this service. Nearly every week we have someone slip on the stairs coming down for lunch, and are fortunate no one has had serious injury yet. As soon as possible, we must have all our services with ground floor access. We have a number of clients with walkers or canes, and still others that do not take stairs well coming in for lunch. If they are in a wheelchair, we have to take lunch up to them. In 2013, we obtained the former shelter Flint building at 1917 Delaware. This is an over 11,000 square foot building and is in the process of being remodeled now. We had frozen and broken heat radiators that flooded 3 floors. We had stolen copper radiators and water lines and other difficulties to overcome. God is faithful, and we will see this project through to completion. We are excited with what God is doing for the Eastside Mission. Leading up to Christmas and Easter, we take time to read a short passage of Scripture relevant to the coming holiday just before lunch. The clients are extremely attentive to this and listen with open ears. It gives us an opportunity many times to speak individually with clients about Jesus as well. Often we are given the privilege to pray with people concerning their problems. These problems may range from difficulty with a pet or children to evictions or lack of water, heat, or lights. Some of these problems we are able to offer some assistance. Others is not so much we can do physically, and we must rely on God to step in with help for them. Often we refer our clients to other agencies for help. We serve as the hands and feet of Jesus on the East Side, and we are His ambassadors to our clientele. At the mission, we have several special days each year. Easter and Christmas are big celebrations with a lot of activities and a great meal. This past year, we celebrated Cinco de Mayo with a special Mexican cooked meal, and we had 2 picnics outside under the shade trees next to the mission this past summer. Our back-to-school bash is always a full day with games, prizes, backpacks, and good things to eat. We want to send the kids back to school with a new backpack and new school supplies to start the year. These events take extra volunteers above the normal 18 to 20 daily volunteers we have working at the mission. Our volunteers are a great portion of the backbone for the Eastside Mission, and we love them. If you would like to have a tour of the facilities or desire to volunteer, contact the mission at 810-767-5312. That's 810-767-5312. The mission is blessed to have a chiropractor coming in twice each month to meet with clients. He doesn't charge for the service, and I often have clients asking, when is the chiropractor coming back again? We are so blessed with an eye doctor coming in to give free eye exams, and glasses are only $15 to $35 if you live in our zip code. Glasses usually take 1 to 2 weeks, and if you cannot afford the glasses, we have glasses that have been donated, and the eye doctor looks for a matching prescription for you. In the winter, we have a group that makes what we call ugly quilts, UGLY quilts, for those who are homeless or living in abandoned buildings or under viaducts or bridges. These bags are very warm and actually very colorful. More than one person has been seen carrying one of these bags around during the winter to make sure that he has it at night. The need is great, and yet many do not see these needs as we go about our daily business. Need does not usually poke its head out without desperation, but we see it every day at the Eastside Mission. Donations are always accepted at the Eastside Mission. Our mailing address is Flint Eastside Mission, Post Office Box 90238, Burton, Michigan 48509. God bless you.
FOV.
What if we... Why can't we?
Flint, Michigan. Why not? Our voices.
Our voices.
WFOB.
What would happen if we...
WFOB.
How many times have I said,
I've got the solution.
not everybody's bad?
Why can't we work together?
WFOB.
Our voices.
Our voices.
WFOB. You know what the problem is?
I heard a guy on the radio.
There's other
Our voices. I like to hear it.
WFOB.
I heard.
WFOB.
What? WFOB.
Our voices. 259-978 Flint's newest radio stations. Located right here in Flint, Michigan. The Good News Radio. If you're interested in getting involved, having your own show, or just supporting the station, give us a call at 259-9789. That's 259-9789. It's Our Voices. Located right here in Flint, Michigan. The Good News Radio. If you're interested in getting involved, having your own show, or just supporting the station, give us a call at 259-9789.
If I got to go to college, oh my goodness. I like discovering new things. You get to see what works for you and what doesn't. That helps you evolve as a person. And you get to make like a supernova of skill or talent or whatever it is. I've always wanted to go to college. I just feel like that's my destiny. My name is Queen, and I am your dividend.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
So you can't save money? That's easy as pie. Brown bagging lunch instead of going out. $6 save times 5 days a week times 10 years is $21,000. That's a lot of lettuce. Small changes today, big bucks tomorrow. Feedthepig.org.
Hey, white people! What's up?
We're kids from Ferguson, Missouri.
You know, that little place where white police shot an unarmed black teen in the face? It was a national disgrace. So listen up, because we're here to talk to you about race. Sometimes white people are like, but is racism still a thing? Spoiler alert. Yeah. That's because Beyonce is on your playlist and you voted for Obama.
Doesn't mean that our generation
I've seen the end of racist drama. Racism is not one of those things. So go away. If you pretend it doesn't exist. Like Crocs or Justin Bieber. All this focus on race makes me uncomfortable.
uncomfortable
Try being black. Fun fact.
when the NYPD stops white people.
They frisk only 8%.
When they stop blacks and Latinos, they frisk 85%.
Oh. Ooh, what's that smell? That would be racism. We just want to equal shot in life.
Not to be shot to death.
It's you people who are making this about race. I don't see color. Really?
Did you know that employers
Don't even need to see the color of our skin for the discrimination to begin. Resumes with black-sounding names like Tanisha and Tyrone are 50% less likely to be called in for a job interview
didn't the exact same resume?
with white-sounding names. But is this injustice? Surprising.
When 40% of whites
Actually say white people are more hardworking than black people?
You people are just playing the race card.
No one's playing cards. This is not a game.
Complain about this race card BS.
It's just an obvious way of trivializing and marginalizing people. So stop.
Some of my best friends are black.
You get a cookie. Here's a hot tip.
You're not really being a friend.
We try saying racism has reached its end. Racism is not over, but I'm over racism.
The continued discrimination against black people.
Us white people, we have to erase it. And the first step is to own up and face it. In America, fighting for equal treatment
Is not a black thing.
we all have to do our part.
Be the shit, get a shirt. $5 from each shirt goes directly to charities working in communities to fight racism. Band together against racism.
Racism is not over, but I'm over racism. Hands up. Don't shoot.
Join Flint's Community Education Initiative today. Families, students, business owners, nonprofits, volunteers. Everyone can make a difference in the success and lives of Flint Community School students and families. Become a partner today and find out what true community collaboration can accomplish. Learn more at flintcommunityed.org. What's blooming in Flint Community Schools? Garden education. Thanks to Food Corps Michigan, a partner in Flint's Community Education Initiative, students, families, and neighbors have an opportunity to discover the joys of growing their own fruits and vegetables. Learn more at flintcommunityed.org. Did you know sports and physical activity can lead to greater success in school? Partners in the Community Education Initiative are offering sports such as basketball, soccer, and football in the Flint Community Schools. Give your student a healthy, active boost in their education. Learn more at flintcommunityed.org.
FOV.
What if we... Why can't we?
Flint, Michigan.
Why not?
Our voices. Our voices.
WFOV.
What would happen if we...
WFOV.
How many times have I said...
I've got the solution.
Not everybody's bad.
Why can't we work together?
WFOV.
Our voices.
Our voices.
WFOV. You know what the problem is?
I heard a guy on the radio.
There's other
Our
communities.
voices. I like to hear it.
WFOV.
I heard.
WFOV.
What?
WFOV.
Our voices. 259-978 Flint's newest radio stations. Located right here in Flint, Michigan. The Good News Radio. If you're interested in getting involved, having your own show, or just supporting the station, give us a call at 259-9789. That's 259-9789. It's Our Voices. Located right here in Flint, Michigan. The Good News Radio. If you're interested in getting involved, having your own show, or just supporting the station, give us a call at 259-9789.
This new mom is struggling to get the skates just right. And now she's holding on for dear life. Her kids can see she may have broke her knees. They still love her though she looks like she's attacked by killer bees. I'm allergic. Prove you don't have to be perfect to be the perfect parent.
Thousands of siblings in foster care will take you just as you are.
This new dad is picturing a tree house in the sky, but he's ignoring the instructions. Good luck, big guy. His kids know that he's building without a clue. Never been so good with nails and glue. Now we're trapped inside a box. I hope mom knows what to do. Mom! See, you don't have to be perfect to be the perfect parent.
Thousands of siblings in foster care will take you just as you are.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Me llamo Raquel Mendoza y esta es mi vida. Mis hijos están envueltos en muchas actividades. Eso requiere mucho estrés y correr para acá y para allá. A veces mi familia necesita un escape. Este lugar trae mucha paz y hay mucha calma, mucha naturaleza. Quiero regresar con mi familia más seguido.
Encuentra el bosque más cercano en descubreelbosque.org. El bosque, más cerca de lo que crees.
Don't worry, 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft.
To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.